Good evening to all the people from India, as well as good afternoon to all the participants from the Middle East. I am Pradeep Tohor, representing Aditya Birla Education Academy. Let me introduce you to someone whom I know for a couple of years now. And I realized that she is the most talented and creative principal I have ever seen. When many of us didn't know exactly what design thinking was, she was the one who came and conducted an amazing workshop on design thinking and made us all aware of its active representation in the class. She was the one who has taken the whole world under her feet, and she took the risk of traveling to a specific part of the world where any one of us dare to visit. Yes, that is Antarctica. She is the principal and CEO of the James Modern Academy, Vice President of Education, as well as the recipient of the first ever James Exceptional Head of School Award 2018. With a master's degree in microbiology, she made the transition from teaching to educational leadership, having spent over 32 years in the field of education. I don't know how much to talk about our today's facilitator, Nargish Khambatta. Nargish, please take over.
Thank you very much, Pradipto. I hope there are no other principals in this gathering, or else they will take offense to what you said. And thank you for that very, very kind introduction. I'm very pleased to see my hero, the person I admire and look up to in education. That's my sister, Katie Nagarwala, and I can see her out here, and I'm so pleased that she is attending this. All right, so thank you, Pradipto, and I think let me jump straight into it because your time is valuable and so is everybody else's. Thank you for the invitation. I was very pleased to know I've got friends in ABEA now, and when I got the invitation, there's one person I don't really say no to, and that is Mr. Pradipto. So he can talk anybody into anything. I have to tell you that about him. But I'm just going to share my screen now and see if, I hope that's visible. I presume it is. So today, yes, it is. Thank you. So today's conversation is about opportunity in disguise. And if you've seen, I've disguised opportunity there. Did you spot that? That was a trick one. So that word actually is opportunity, and that's opportunity in disguise, really. Before I go into, why is it that I'm seeing this current situation when everybody is, talking about, the doom and gloom aspect of it? Why am I seeing a silver lining? And I'm sure there are many others among you who are seeing that silver lining as well. It's just the perspective that you take. It's the lens that you look through it. And I think that's what makes all the difference. And you'll agree with me as educators that you can shift someone's perspective absolutely by just changing that lens. A little about my school. This is what my school looks like, James Modern Academy. And some of you have visited here. Well, we were founded in 1986. In Dubai, that means we are in grandfather status. It just means that, because Dubai itself is a young country, young emirate, that means we're just about 33, 34 years old. We are very privileged because we've got our second generation of learners now coming to our school. And, a once head girl of the school today is a member of our staff, and 2 of her children come here, and many of her classmates and colleagues. So we've got people who studied at Modern, and now their children are studying at Modern. And at Dubai, that's a big thing. Well, we introduced the IB Diploma Program in 2014. So we are a dual curriculum school in the grades 11 and 12. And I'm also pleased to share that we are a PYP candidate school, which means from kindergarten to grade 5. we offer the PYP curriculum. As soon as we get authorized, we'll be able to announce that we are an authorized school. We've got 3,850 students and 234 teachers. We have a very stringent process we undertake. It's almost like an examination. Even at this age, I know what students feel like when they attend the examination, because the authorities come and turn your school upside down for 4 days, and then they give you a report card. And if that report card says outstanding, it means you are best in class. And so I'm very pleased to share that for 9 years in a row, GEMS One Academy has been rated outstanding. And this doesn't happen per chance. It doesn't happen, just like that. It happens because there is a very, very dedicated team of individuals who drive the leadership team, and the teachers are absolutely committed to. And I always say that you may be committed to your job, but if you're not committed to your children who are in your care, then you really are serving no purpose. And there is not a single individual in my school who, is not committed to our children. In fact, our vision statement says very clearly, there's just 7 words: inspiring children to be positive change makers. That's what, that's exactly what our vision statement is. I'd like you to do a menti.com activity for those of you who downloaded Menti. Lata, if you can please have the first question flashed before we go into presentation mode. Shall I stop sharing? Yeah, thank you. Right. May I encourage everyone to participate, because it's good to see. So how are you feeling about online learning today? Positive, creative, enthusiastic, excited, challenging, open-minded, curious? The curious guys always win, always. So I'm really pleased to see that you are already in a positive mindset. And we'll wait for another 20 seconds to see some more responses coming in. And as you can see, the larger the word is, more people are saying the same thing, if you're familiar with menti.com. So if you are seeing excited, big and bold there, it just means that more people have put in excited. So thank you very much. I'm going to swap screens again. I seem to have lost my, give me a minute, please. Yes, are we back on? Can you see that? Sorry, can you? Not yet? All right. All right, we've jumped ahead in our slides. This is where we were. And I'm just going to put this back into slideshow mode in a second. Please bear with me, please. Right, there you go. So why is it not in slideshow mode? All right, this is what technology does, and I thought I'm pretty okay with it, but give me a second. All right, it's not going to slideshare, doesn't matter. So this is where we were. What I do want to talk about really is that it's not change that is painful. It's not change that is painful, but it is the resistance to change that is painful. I've got Mr. Danak here who's going to help me in a minute. And all right, there you go. Thank you so much. Thank you, Mr. Danak. So it's not change that is painful, and you would have realized that. It's the resistance to change that is painful. And I want to introduce you to a theory called the Antifragile Theory. This was put forward by a wonderful author called Nassim Taleb. And Nassim Taleb said, and I remember experiencing this as a child, you get an adrenaline rush when you are late to submit an assignment, or you're doing something under pressure. How many of us really work better under pressure? And when you're saying you're working better under pressure, it actually means that you're gaining from disorder. It actually means that you're benefiting from the stress. It actually means that, when you're exposed to randomness, to disorder, to volatility, you actually perform better and you flourish. And he said there is a state, it's called the anti-fragile state, because, for want of a better term, he just introduced the term anti-fragile. And there are individuals who really, thrive in this anti-fragile state. They thrive from disorder. Too much of it can release the wrong hormones and it can cause other sorts of problems. But when you are exposed to small doses of disorder, then you can actually perform. So the two different things that I'm saying here. One is that, it's not change that's painful, but it's resistance to change that's very, very painful. And I'm sure there are school leaders out there, and you would know that one of the most difficult things to do is to change the mindset of the individual. And really, right through this presentation today, through this talk today, the focus is going to be on how to change that mindset, how to convert every obstacle into, an opportunity, and to spot that silver lining. And so please read up on Nassim Taleb's work. I'm sure you'll be fascinated by what he has to say. So is this all doom and gloom, or can you spot a silver lining? And, I know there is a time when initially everybody felt, my goodness, what's happening? And then we all felt that, oh, this is only for a short term and it's going to sort itself out later. We're all going to be fine. And then we said, no, we're in for a longer haul than we even ever imagined. So is it doom and gloom, or is it silver lining? It just depends on your mindset. And really, these are the substantives that I'm going to talk about today, starting with the paradigm shift. And we are going to take some time to talk about the paradigm shift and what that means. What is the current culture that we have in our current settings? How do we create that? What exactly are we doing to enhance, to shift that culture to where we want it to be? There is a rapid response schema that we've developed as a school, and I'm happy to share that with you. The leadership is the next substantive that I'm going to share with you, because, for all the teachers out there, we are leaders of learning. Every single teacher is a leader of learning. And now you amplify that concept and take it to every strata and stage of leadership. And you really will see that, how have we as leaders responded to this paradigm shift that we are seeing around us? Have we seen the opportunity? Have we seen this as a leadership opportunity? Has our leadership been put to test? These are things we'll talk about. And of course, if you put together a schema, there has to be a formula, and I'm happy to share that formula with you. I'm sure you'll add value to it. I wish this was an interactive forum like that wonderful session we had in Pradipta's school. But in the absence of that, the chat box is active, and I would urge you to kindly put in your comments or questions. Let's make this interactive so we learn from each other. And there is so much that we can learn from each other, really. And a caveat here, I don't claim to know it all, please, to the audience, I say this very humbly, that all my life, I've been a seeker and a learner. And I think the day we think we know it all, that's the day we really stop learning. And we've not even scratched the surface yet. But just these are some of the learnings that we've had, and I'm sharing with you. One moment you thought you were on the ground looking at the sky, and the next moment you're in the sky with your feet dangling, looking down at the ground. That's what this whole system has done to us. We thought that, we're absolutely set, things are, we're sailing along, everything seems to be fine, but suddenly we see that our paradigm has shifted. And you know what? I would say this is an opportunity in disguise, because for a very long time, we've been expressing dissatisfaction with the way things are going. We've been saying, what is this tuition nonsense? What is this? Why are we rote learning? Why are we putting our children through this system? And so I want to take you back to the industrial age, the industrial era. That was the time really, there was another paradigm shift. When we introduced, schooling during the industrial era, that was introduced to meet the needs of the industrial economy at that point in time. We had rows facing straight forward. You had some sort of standardized testing. You had the teacher who was the sage on the stage. You had the teacher who had all the knowledge and wisdom and was imparting it. And students were absorbing it like sponges. And it had its merits. There was nothing wrong with that system. But then over a period of time, we realized that our children are digital natives. We are the digital migrants. But our children, they were literally born with an iPhone or an iPad as an appendage, as an extension of their arm, and they were born that way. So we found that over a period of time, many educators were talking about this, that look, our systems are outdated. we are not catering to the 21st century. We are not doing justice to our children and their potential and their capability. And you had educators of the quality of, I'm sure many of you have heard of Dr. Sugata Mitra, and he did this very famous hole-in-the-wall experiment. And he put a tablet in a wall in a little village near, I forget the name of the village, near Kolkata. And he just left it there, and he did a social experiment. And he said, the children in the village will be the first ones to come and explore this, and they will learn how to navigate the World Wide Web. And everybody laughed and said, what are you talking about? These people don't really understand, they don't know, they've never used the computer, what are you talking about? But Sugata Mitra and his team came back a week later, and they found that the children had learned to log on, they'd learned to navigate the system, they'd learned to access different things, and within a month, they were so fluent with it, they could find anything you wanted them to. And mind you, these were children with very, very limited or no formal education. Simultaneously, in Ethiopia, we had Nicholas Negroponte, who was doing a similar social experiment where he gave 20 students in Ethiopia, a laptop. And he said to them that, look, they didn't even know the English language, and they learned the alphabet. They started, navigating the system. But that's where it stopped. We had people, we had educators of the likes of Mark Prensky. We had so many people who were talking. I mean, everyone's heard Ken Robinson's absolutely vocal and volatile views on why the system needs to change. We had, there was the chief education, I forget his exact title, but I think it was, I forget his name, but he was the UNICEF chief education officer in UNICEF. And he said that education is steeped in static knowledge. That's what he said. It is steeped in static knowledge. Dr. Wright, I believe that was. And he said, when are we going to move children from the static nature of knowledge to the dynamism that they should be exposed to? And we were chugging along. All of us were using technology. We were trying to navigate and find our way. And if we used, technology, initially it started with PowerPoints. It started with, the excitement of just using a smart board. And then we moved on to other things like the use of the Mentimeter, as you've seen now. But little did we realize that we are going to be thrown off the cliff, thrown off into the deep end. And, well, you've got to sink or you've got to swim. March 2020 was a turning point. We had no other option. We had to embrace this wonderful, brave new world. And educators are the true heroes here. Teachers are the true heroes, because I think the way they adapted, literally overnight, we've seen this globally. And especially, I mean, I can talk for Dubai, and I certainly know what's happening in India as well. But the way they've embraced technology and actually got down to, using it to engage with our children is fantastic. And we've changed the role of the teacher. Now the teacher is a guide by the side. The teacher is not the owner of knowledge, really. That knowledge is available at your fingertips, but it is how does the teacher help students to interpret that knowledge? That's important. How do we develop content for the children? How are we curating that content and putting forward the content in an interesting manner that will hook the children's imagination? And how do we get them to move forward? I would love to delve deeper into aspects of technology and talk about, how Samir and TPAC, for those of you who know it, how they are giving us good insights into how we should really leverage the use of technology. And how do we know that technology that we're using is making an impact on the children, that we're not using technology for the sake of using technology, that we're using it mindfully and meaningfully so that our children learn. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you that what got you here will not get you there. It certainly won't. And all the wonderful processes that we've put in place, I always say that if you have the mindset to have a strategic plan for whatever it is you want to action or whatever problem you want to solve, if you have the mindset, the strategic mindset to do it, then you will adapt, you will adopt, you will be agile, and you will be able to put the new system in place. And this is what I'm going to talk about, how we saw the silver lining, how we saw the opportunity in the current situation and what we've done. These are just some of the success stories that I'm sharing with you. That doesn't mean that we didn't face failure or we didn't face disappointment. We faced it galore. But as as they say at IDEO and as they say with design thinking, fail fast, fail forward. And when you constantly, if you don't try, you're not going to learn. If you want to be safe and you want to stand on your little rock and say, I'm not going to put my feet into the ocean because I might drown, then you're not going to be able to do anything. It's a really bad analogy actually, because safety is on everyone's minds at the moment, so it's a bad analogy. Forget I said that. But I think you're getting the message of what I'm trying to say, that we tried 100 things, but we tried it, we trialed it. If this worked or didn't work. If it didn't work, dump it and move on to the next thing. And I'll share with you how we were able to amplify successes very quickly. Are we all familiar with VUCA? This was put forward by the US military. And they, in the military college, this was just when the Cold War was ending, and it was a VUCA world. And here I want you to pause really. And I want you to feel the moment when you thought everything is just being so volatile. And when I say volatile, I mean just so volatile. Yeah, that you can't even imagine, that this is happening to you, right? And it's happening so quickly, it's happening so dynamically, it's compelling you to think so fast. Feel that VUCA moment, that volatile moment, right? And then I want you to feel the uncertainty, the uncertain moment, when you're not sure. There's a lack of predictability, complete lack of predictability. What will work? What will not work? And then I want you to move over to the complexity part of this. There are so many wheels within wheels. There are so many things that you have to consider, when you're actually, it's frightening. It's absolutely frightening. And so I've just got a note from Ritesh. He says, please, can you slow down? So Ritesh is our Chief Innovation Officer. Thank you for that, Ritesh. If I'm going too fast, I certainly will slow down. But the complexity that I want you to feel, there's a reason why I'm telling you, I want you to stop and feel it. And then ambiguity. Ambiguity is when there are too many unknown unknowns. You don't know what's happening around you. You're trialing one thing, but 3 others are shifting. Well, you've got to anchor something, right? But when was the last time you felt ambiguous? If you've been feeling volatility, uncertainty, complexity, ambiguity, if you've been feeling it, then you've been in the fragile state. And all of us have been in the fragile state. But if we dwell there too long, then that's going to be counterproductive. It is going to be counterproductive. So how do you move to the agile state? How do you convert that volatility into vision? It's still a VUCA world, but it's an agile VUCA world. How do you convert volatility into vision? How do you convert uncertainty into understanding? How do you convert complexity into clarity? And how do you convert ambiguity into agility? And that's what we're going to talk about. Now, I know there are a lot of words here, but I want us to pause for a minute. And I want us to really think about how are we navigating this disruption? How? There are 3, you can see where this has been taken from, Education in Motion. And please refer to the white paper. I think it's a brilliantly written document, and that's where this is referenced from. They clearly state that there are 3 zones in the current disruption. There's the unsettled zone, there's the learning zone, and there's a growth zone. And they're saying they've divided it into individuals and systems. This is not, I wish this was my piece of work, but I haven't evolved there, not yet. I have a growth mindset, so not yet. Certainly we'll get there someday with the team. So I want us to have a look at this and think, where are we, right? So look at the individuals. In the unsettled zone, we've all felt this. How do I get connected? What sort of technology am I going to use? What content will I teach? What tools and platforms and strategies am I going to use? How can I cope with so many resources, right? Either you have too few resources or too many. So that's what the leadership team, the teachers, the students have felt. But what about the systems? What do you need to put in place? You need to put in place, how are you going to provision access to technology? How are you going to ensure connectivity? And in India, I am acutely aware that this is a problem, especially in the remote areas. How am I going to provide? So some people are still in the unsettled zone in terms of systems. They may have come to terms with the individual aspect of it, but not the systems aspect. Food safety in some parts of the world, in some parts of India, it is a problem. How do I provide content for learning? And how do I manage my communication? Because if your communication is not strong during this point, ladies and gentlemen, I have to tell you, every good intent that you have will flop, right? And clearly communication is key. Now, look at the learning zone. So after the initial disruption, the unsettled zone, then when we figured out all of these basic things, when we figured out the technology, children are muting each other, they're throwing the teacher out of the classroom, they're talking over each other, using unparliamentary language, language that probably is not, cannot be used in the classroom. So how do we teach them netiquette? And so now you shift to the learning zone. Then you start worrying about other things. You start worrying about how my students doing. How can we best connect? How can we check in with students? How do we know? And if you've got a good way of checking in with your students, how do you know your children are feeling good? There's a beautiful app out there called YouHue, Y-O-U-H-U-E, YouHue. They're offering it gratis, complimentary, free. So please trial that and see, and you'll see it has amazing results. So can you please type into the chat box? This will help others. How are you connecting with your students? How are you checking in? I'm sorry, I'm not going to be reading the chat box now, but Mr. Pradipto is reading it. And at some point we will pause and we will respond to questions as well. You're trying to figure out what is worth learning. How will I design learning that actually engages my children? My students. How do I balance, screen time, non-screen time? Parents have been battering us with this. Ophthalmologists have been coming up with eye exercises. We're doing the 2020. One of my colleagues in his school, he empowers children. He says, you all have to remind the teacher 2020. So let's take a 2020 break. We've been 20 minutes into this presentation. Let's do some palming. Rub your hands. Can I ask everyone to rub your hands? Yep, rub them nice and hard. Place them on your eyes, close your eyes and place them on your eyes. Feel the coolness of your palms. Slowly move your palm and open your eyes again. Look far away, don't look at the screen. Blink 20 times and look back in. Very simple way to do it, but it works. So how am I really knowing? What are the systems I'm putting in place to make sure? How will I assess learning and well-being? Because learning without well-being is pointless. And well-being, you can have all the well-being in the world. How do you complement that with learning? So both of these are important. And then how do we provide continuity of academic learning? How do we support our students who do not have the independent skills for learning? And I'm going to share a secret with you. I'm going to share how we did it and how we're doing it. We haven't got there yet, but we got a process in place. How do you provide continuity and integrity for assessments? And for sure, children are going to want to beat the system. That's children. Adults do it. Why won't children? They will want to beat the system. How do you get them to be, students with a high, to adopt the model high ground, to have high integrity? And how do you support parents to support students, especially kindergarten, especially for younger children? And I'd love to have my head of kindergarten here talking to you about the methods she's used, and she's been highly successful. And one little trick that she's used, which I'm happy to share, is she has connected with educators around the world who are talking about educating kindergarten children online. And she's seen that, what is the advice they're giving? And the one thing that they are saying is that involve parents not in the learning process, but in the learning experience. And there's a big difference. This is not the purpose of the seminar. I'd probably talk about it some other time, but it's worth, and I'd love to connect my head of kindergarten with anyone who wants to do that. How do you attend to the well-being of students and teachers? And, what are the different ways of, that we're looking after the well-being of our teachers? Because if our teachers are not well looked after, then surely they're not going to be able to deliver in the class. And they are the true heroes, or are we in the growth zone? Yeah. So who's learning? Who's struggling? What skills? You can read it. It's all there. I'm not going to go into it. But I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And I'm going to ask Lata to please come in with the Mentimeter question. Which zone are you in? The next question, please, ma'am. Yeah. Let's see which one comes out really big and strong. That means more of you are in that. Someone's put in their own imagining, creative, good, wonderful. But please, can you choose options from what was given? There were 3 zones. Yeah. There was the unsettling zone, the learning zone, and then the growth zone. I'm very pleased to see at least 2 people in the growth zone. We haven't reached there yet as a school. We are still in the learning zone, and we acknowledge that we are in the learning zone. And but obviously the next step is the growth zone. And very quickly, if you're mindful of the learning of the current situation, then you move into the next zone very, very quickly. Thank you so much, Ms. Lata. If we can, yeah, thank you. I hope I get this right today. How do I share? Where is my screen? Give me a minute, please. Yes, am I back in? Can you see this? Is it visible?
Not yet, ma'am.
Not yet. Okay. Yeah, I think I'm in. Yeah, now is it visible?
Yes.
Right. So this is how the navigation of disruption was discussed by Education in Motion, by their team. And we could relate to this. We couldn't have had it explained better. When we saw it, we went, my goodness me, this is exactly the document that we want and we want to reference. So this is absolutely brilliant. Okay, I don't know why. Okay, I'm sorry. All right. Now, what is this rapid response schema that we really are talking about, right? And I'm going to give you 2 examples. So we realize that, you can have, the 3 I's they talk about. You can have the intention, you can implement it, but if you cannot measure the impact or you don't know what the impact is, then every intention and every implementation that you have is not worth its salt. So we went into a phase where we said, so how do we know what we're doing is actually working? And what should be the process? And how can we be agile in what we're doing? And so the evaluate stage, right? And I'm going to walk you through a specific example that, I'm going to share with you. So one of the first things that we did, now every school appoints a head boy and head girl house captains, right? Every school has that. I mean, a school, we believe, cannot function without a head boy, head girl, and house captains. But we took a step back and we evaluated and we said, in a remote world, in a distant world, what role is, a handful of people going to play? We'd thrown out the prefect system long ago. And we were only with a head boy, head girl, 4 house captains for the girls, 4 house captains for the boys. At the most, a deputy head boy and head girl. So we've got 10 or 12 people we are empowering. We said, what if? We said, what's the alternative? And we said, what if we don't appoint a head boy and head girl? What if we don't appoint house captains? What happens? What is the alternative? How can we innovate? What is the new system we can put in place? And then we said, we took a call. It was a tough call. It was a difficult one to explain to children who were vying for that position. You know how it is. Children get so disappointed. And anyway, there was supposed to be disappointment because, only 2 people. One can be a head boy, one can be a head girl. That's it. And there'll be 3 others vying, equally competent, but we had to select one. So we said, anyway, some people are going to be disappointed. So we said, we took a call, we explained it to the children, they came on board with us. And we already had a council system in place, a council system which we hold very, very, very dear to our hearts because this evolved out of a design thinking process that we conducted with our children back in 2014. And this council system is now grown stronger. And I cannot even tell you to everyone listening here, it was as if leadership, there was an explosion of leadership. And everybody believed now that they were leaders. And everybody believed that they were the change makers, the positive change makers, and they had to do something for society. And that's the kind of empowerment we gave them. And I'm very, very pleased to share with you, and there is a slide where I will share what what are the wonderful initiatives our children, I'm so proud of them. What are they doing? They are making us wonder, why didn't we do this years ago? Why did we get stuck with this silly, head boy, head girl, house captain? And okay, it's not silly. I take my words back. It has its merits. But when you empower everybody, when you empower a few, then the authority rests with the few. The empowerment rests with the few. The leadership opportunities rest with the few. We took that away. And we said, everybody's a leader. Everybody's a change maker. Everybody has the power to do what they want. And when we talk to our students today and we ask them that, so what has caused this change? And they said, that's because we believe that each one of us can make a difference. And you all made us believe that. So that's something that's really worked. So we are in the re-evaluation phase now, and we're never happy with the good things. So we're always looking at how do we consolidate, what are the flaws, what are the flaws in the system, and we'll pick the flaws. We will be having special sessions with our children to get their perspective and to understand what really didn't go well, and then we'll consolidate the learning. And this is not a linear process. This schema is not a linear process. It's a cyclical process. So once you consolidate and you realize that it's not as great as you thought it was, then you're re-evaluating and you're saying, okay, let's go through the process again. So the changing nature of leadership, and I want to take a minute to talk about, so we've all heard about transformational leadership, we've heard about back-end leadership, we've talked about servant leadership, we all know the different leadership styles. And we've all agreed that we've been in a siloed phase of leadership, where leadership is siloed. And if you see that image, it explains it really well, that you've got tier upon tier upon tier upon tier, and there's one right at the top. Of course, there will be one right at the top, but how empowered are the rest of the people? And so we said that we'd rather go with mission-driven teams. And we're talking about hero teams, not hero leaders anymore. The more hero leaders you have, the more counterproductive it is, because then everything lies with those few individuals. But if you acknowledge and you celebrate hero teams, do you realize what you're doing? You are really empowering groups of people. And I'm going to take you on to another example. So a question, so can I just pause here and ask you, how you could think of this guy extending his arm? How do you lead your team? What sort of leadership style do you imbibe? What sort of a leader are you? And if you are an open-minded leader, then you will examine leadership models in the 21st century. You will examine leadership models in the VUCA world. And we very quickly realized, so really there are very, very few executive decisions that I take. Most of the decisions are taken by the leadership team. Sometimes they overrule my decision. But of course, I take an executive decision when I have to. But by and large, we take collective decisions. And I think we realize that it's the hero team that you need to celebrate. And what do I mean by hero team, right? And okay, before I get on to what do I mean, I'm sure you've thought this through. But who is your hero team in your school? Can you post in the chat? Have you recognized your hero team? Which of your teams are hero teams? Have you identified them? I'm just giving you 30 seconds to go on before I give you an example of what a hero team in our school did. Sorry. Okay. Now, if you look at this, it looks bland, right? This is a remote learning lesson plan. So one of the things that we did was we said, okay, how do we recreate, because you can't evaluate teachers. You can't have teachers creating, sorry, not evaluate. You can't have teachers creating lesson plans that, worked in the normal classroom, right? The consideration, the paradigm has shifted. So many things have changed. So we asked a lot of people, so what do you think? Can you scout the net? Can you find out what are the different kinds of remote learning lesson plans? And they came with so many options, yeah, so many different options. And then somebody projected and said, this is what I think will work. So we all looked at it and we said, this is simple. It looks easy to do. So what can we do with it? Now, the academic team came into the fore and they said, let's trial this with the teachers, because if the teachers find merit in this, then it's useful. If the teachers don't find merit in this, it's not useful. So we said, fine. And we gave it to the teachers and we said, fill this out. Plan your lesson with this. See what you can do with it. And they took it back. They worked on it. They came back and did some suggestions. We realized, so this is the modified version, and it's intentionally not filled in because I wanted you to see how stark it was. And you can't really, you can't really imagine. We put in extra columns, we put in additional elements, we put in learning intentions, we put in objectives, we put in success criteria. Oh, I'm so sorry. We expanded on this. They filled it out. We reviewed it. The leadership team had a look at it. We went in and we evaluated their classes and said, okay, this is the lesson plan you want us to evaluate you with. Are we able to populate our evaluation rubric, our teacher evaluation rubric? Are we able to populate it? Are we able to say, yes, this is an outstanding teacher, or this, are we able to comment? So we said, when we trialed it, and we tweaked it and we tweaked it and we tweaked it, currently this is what we're using. This is not ours. We got a template off the net, which was free, but then we worked on it and worked in different teams. So the academic team came out as the hero team in this. This is one of their biggest success stories. Yeah. All right. So I want you to look at this fortune cookie here. I don't know where my glasses are, even I can't read it. Look at this fortune cookie. It says, a plan you have been working on for a long time is beginning to take shape. Now, really, how many of us act on fortune cookies? How many of us really, we all believe, because we don't believe in magic. Magic doesn't happen. We all believe in fortune cookies. But if we drafted strategies around fortune cookies, you can really see how quickly things would fall apart. And so, we came up with an agile rapid response formula. Now, the Agile Theory, please read up on it. I would strongly recommend that you read up on Agile Theory, not as in small A-G-I-L-E, but an Agile Theory with a capital A, right? And really, so this is the formula that we put in place. So, and I'm going to, yes. All right, so look at adaptability, right? We said you've got to be agile, you've got to be future ready and raise the AQ, and I'm going to come to AQ in a minute, right? You said you have to be adaptable. If you're not adaptable, if you don't raise your adaptability quotient and and the other AQ, which I'm going to reveal in a minute, we said then that's not going to really work. We said we will identify hero team and follow the hero team leadership, which is completely data-driven, data-informed, and policies made based on data. But obviously, if you only rely on data, then there's something wrong, because data, as you know, can be manipulated, and data tells a story. So, but to use data mindfully and to construct, when I say data-informed policy making, I mean, what does the survey data mean? If you want to find, remember the 3 I's? We talked about intent, impact, and intent, implementation, and impact. So how do we know that what we are implementing is having an impact? So you conduct a survey. What is the survey data telling us? Based on the survey data, we trial something else until we get it right. When we get it right, we know right now it's ripe and ready to be converted into a policy. It's a very, for those scientists here or science teachers, this is really the scientific method, nothing other than the scientific method. How do we amplify opportunities? And the students will tell you, my goodness me, how opportunities have been amplified and how they've learned to amplify opportunities themselves. How do you convert something, that you observe, and how do you make it so big and take it global? That's amazing. Distributed, collaborative, inspirational leadership. And I want to take a minute to stop here and talk about, leadership. We've already talked a lot about it, but when the leadership has trust in the collective, then you see magic happening. If the leadership believes that they and they alone can drive things in the school, that's when it stops people from thinking and from coming forward with opportunity, with saying that, can I trial this? I want to talk about the abundance approach. So we're talking about student empathy. So we actually have, the supervisors very quickly realized that students are missing the social connect, and they want people to talk to. And so they put up a common room, they put up a sub-channel, they put up a special place online where students could just drop in At any given point in time, the supervisor is there. Come and have coffee with your supervisor. Come and have a cup of tea, obviously virtually, but come and chat. In other words, come and share. Teacher wellness. There are so many things that are being done for teacher wellness. And one example I want to give is what our middle school teachers are doing. So they realize that, we can't be talking shop all the time. We can't be talking about work all the time. So once in a week, for half an hour, teachers come together and the middle school has done this. They come together. They are our hero team for leading on teacher wellness on this aspect. So they come together and they've got a program called J&J, which is just Jack and Jill. But what they really do is the teachers, different teams of teachers lead on this every week. And they sing and they share stories and they crack jokes and they have a quiz, they play bingo and lotto and they just have fun. Half an hour, they let their hair down, they have fun. But they all say that at the end of this, we feel so invigorated. Support staff contingency plans, because the support staff, they're at home. So what is the school doing to help them? If you have an abundance mindset and an abundance approach, then, again, you've got people who really then work like a family. And of course, parent response, because just as children need nurturing, I think parents at this time are tearing their hair out, especially those with little children. And so the abundance approach is drawing the parents within the circle and really getting them to, work with the children. So there is, for example, we told the children, what are you doing for your parents? Are you making them a cup of tea? Are you pressing their head? Do you know what their favorite food is? So there's just so many things that are being done which make everybody feel part of the team. And of course, agency. And when we're talking about student initiative, when we talk about teacher initiatives, parent involvement, this is student voice, this is student choice. This is student agency, teacher agency. And the one thing that we always say is that, we've got to put intentional trust, not blind trust, but you've got to put intentional trust and put a system in place that will make that intentional trust that you are so magnanimously spreading out into your community. When you tell someone you trust them, they want to live up to that trust. And so that intentional trust goes or permeates right across the organization, and people want to live up to it. But to back that up, obviously, there have to be accountability systems in place, because if there's blind trust, then that just dissipates into chaos. But if there is intentional trust with proper systems in place, then that really leads to what we call a sustainable remote learning culture. And so this is our formula. This is our agile formula for really ensuring that we have a sustainable remote learning culture. Now, I don't know how much time we have. Pradipto, can you come in here, please? Do we have another 10 minutes?
About 10 to 12 minutes, yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I'd like you to look at this quote by John Dewey. I'm sure everyone's familiar with John Dewey's research in education. He is a New Zealander, much respected in the education world. And he was the one to tell us that we really don't learn from experience, but we learn from reflecting on experience. And that is key, because if you don't reflect, you don't know what you've learned. There's some things that will settle, but if you reflect on your learning, then you just settle so much more, almost like sedimentation. So reflection is almost like a sedimentation process. Sorry, science teachers, I have a science background, that's why I keep giving science analogies. But I'm sure the commerce-minded or the English teachers will be able to give you different theories around this. So, so when we wanted to, we said, what, remember I told you right in the beginning, that what is the skill set we need to give our children for online learning and for thriving and flourishing online. And we identified, I want to draw your attention to the left-hand corner. So we identified 4 skills that we really need them to imbibe. One is time and self. This is over and above netiquette. And if you put all this in place, then the netiquette automatically takes care of itself. So we said time and self-management is very, very important. We said tasks and assignments and how to handle them is very, very important. Online behavior, most important if you want to get anything out of this. But where's the cerebral aspect of this? Where's the cognitive aspect? That comes in quality of responses. And we constructed, again, a hero team worked on this. One individual, one member of our team said, why don't we put a learner reflection standard in place? We said, what do you mean? He said, I'll show you. And he came up with something. And we said, it's got these elements, but it doesn't have those elements. So he dragged 3 others with him. He said, let's work on this. And then they came up with a second version of it. And then we said, but it still lacks this. And then they came out with a 3.0 version. This is the 3.0 version. And we said, if you give this to students and they're looking at the bronze, the silver, the gold, what is it that I as a student want to vie for? I obviously will begin with bronze, but I'll build my way up to gold. And we didn't stop there. And the oldest member, by the way, we have a member of our staff who has joined us in 1986. She's been 33 years with the school. She's absolutely adored by us. And she's the matriarch. Her word is law. She overrules everybody when she has to. She's an amazing person. And she's the one who pointed out, I've forgotten what I was saying. I'm so sorry. What did she point out? Yeah, thank you. She's the one who pointed out and said that, thank you for being patient. That's what I was saying. She's the one who pointed out, she said, but if we do this for children alone and someone gets a bronze and someone gets a gold, then, you know, they're working for individual glory. But we've always believed in the power of the collective. So why don't we make this, you know, give the award to the class? And we said, for us, that was a transformational moment. We said, wow, look at the thinking in this. And we said, yes. So we said, okay, you can vie for it individually also, but as a class, you've got to vie for it. And then guess what? We didn't stop there. And then we said, we'll have a celebration of this. And we said, so we did, you know, an evaluation. We made the children evaluate themselves. We made the teachers evaluate, and then we cross-checked and see. We said, okay, so is there a match? And there were very few classes who got the gold award. By and large, most were in silver and a few were in bronze. And we asked the children, is this a fair assessment? And guess what? They said yes. Because the classes that got the bronze award were able to tell us exactly why they got the bronze. The classes that got the silver told us what they need to do in order to get the gold. And the classes that got the gold award, they told us what they need to do to sustain the gold. And that's why we were really, really pleased that John Dewey's advice, I think I'm going to write him a separate email and thank him for this bit of research. All right, that's the AQ, right? Now, what is the adaptability quotient? When we talk about an adaptability quotient, it takes into play all the things that we've talked about so far, right? How do we reconstruct mindsets? And we've talked about that. How do we network opportunities? And I always I've been saying this for a while now, that social media is an amazing platform, especially Twitter. The amount of free resources, the amount of amazing advice that you already have out there on Twitter you have to, if you're not on there, you're missing out. Please, you're missing out. It's a gold mine. Get onto Twitter, create an account, find out who are the educators to follow, and please follow them. And you'll see the conversations. There's something called Ed Chat that happens every week, and follow the Ed Chat, and they've got a different topic every time, and they argue, debate, discuss, and they give resources. You know that resource that I got there, the one which had the 3 zones, I got that from Twitter. And so, you know, it's amazing what you can get from Twitter. And of course have data-informed policies, and that's how you raise the adaptability quotient. I'm very mindful of time, so I'm going to quickly walk you through some statistics. And as they say, my good friend always tells me that, you know, good data is like a good rhetoric. It gives you, or it covers up as much as it reveals. And but this is true data, right? So when we had open house, now our parents want only open houses online. They don't want to take the time and trouble of navigating through traffic and coming here. So we've had 4,696 bookings only between 25th and 26th March. That tells you a story. And that's from grades 1 to 9, 11, and IB. We had extra classes. All classes were synchronous classes, and, you know, 102 teachers and 786 classes. The info pack. So we have something unique which we started, the info pack sessions, because we believe that you've got to share. Remember, we said communication is key, and the more you share, the better equipped people are to understand. So you can see that we had 2,700 attendees for the info pack sessions, and of course contacted parents. We believe that if we don't and this has come from our chairman. You know, GEMS Education is an awesome group. It's one of the world's largest K-12 organizations, educational companies, and in Dubai, in UAE itself, we have 49 schools. And so our chairman has told us that, look, you need to connect with your parents regularly, at least once in a month. And so we've taken that, and we make phone calls, we make Teams calls, and just get feedback to parents. And it's the response from parents is absolutely amazing. So initially, I must say, we resisted it. We didn't see the value in it. But the more we connect with our parents, the better our relationship gets and the more meaningful our discussions get. You can see this. 1.79 million channel messages, 4.5 lakh meetings, 10,000 one-on-one calls, 1,76,000 group calls. This is the kind of data that has come. We use Microsoft Teams, by the way, and Microsoft Teams allows you to extract this data. So disruption, opportunity, innovation. You can see the infinity symbol there. And we do believe that disruption, opportunity, and innovation are all intertwined and interlinked. Because, if you're coasting, if you're sailing, if you're standing on that stone, not wanting to dip your feet into the water, you will not. When there's a disruption, and you're throwing, you remember that slide, the paradigm shift slide with the guy whose legs were dangling? When earlier he was looking up, now he's dangling. If there is no disruption, really, disruption causes the best innovation. And I promised you I'll share what our students, these are the initiatives, all come from our students, every single one of them. These images have been created by them, the processes have come by them. The Social Outreach Council has done amazing work. I wish I'd take another webinar to talk about it, but they have done, and I'm not, when I say our school, I'm talking about children all across Dubai who are exploding with ideas and doing some amazing work. So we've got all of the publications that have come out. Students are bringing out publications in the senior children are going down to junior school. We are having middle school debates at 8 o'clock in the evening. We are having, primary children having their debating sessions. The seniors are coming training the primary sessions, primary children for debate. And primary children are talking about signposting the way in debating. It's so awesome. I can't believe what's happening. And our kindergarten children, the seniors are coming down and having storytelling sessions. So it's absolutely fascinating. The MUN, the debating club, the FIT club. Children are having their own FIT clubs and coming up with their own videos and challenges for each other. They're even challenging the principal and saying, can you do this? And we have to be sporting. Our leadership team is amazing. They all respond and they send them videos. Not everyone, some of them, and then they send in the videos. But these are some of the things, the master classes, this has been so successful. Children who are good at, origami or solving the Rubik's Cube or whatever the area of expertise is, they come down to the primary children and they hold master classes for them. And the children are loving this. And they're coming on Saturdays, they're coming on Fridays. Friday and Saturday are holidays in Dubai. And they're coming down and doing these amazing things. So you can see the level of they're having entrepreneurship sessions with them. The Freshman Chronicles, that's our 9 and 10 newsletter written by children. Girl Up, it's the most recent campaign by one of our students, and we pushed back hard and we said, why a Girl Up campaign? Girls are not underprivileged anymore. And they just bounced. They said, we'll think about it. And they came back and with such a strong argument that we couldn't say no, and we gave in and we said, go on and have the Girl Up campaign. So the system and process we have in place is that somebody has to vet it and immediately give approval within a 24-hour window, turnaround window. But yes, this is what we did. So we are really creating connections, opportunities, networks. We're creating positive change makers. That's what we're doing. And look at what our children, if you're on Twitter, if you're on Instagram, you'll see all the wonderful, it's not from kindergarten to grade 12 in IB, from parents to teachers to children. Look at the responses that we're getting on Twitter. And these are not manufactured. These are different people who are, putting it up as and when. And we don't control this at all. Anybody's absolutely okay to put up whatever they want. And look at our children, they're reaching out to celebrities, they're reaching out to people and they're saying, would you come to our school? And so by the way, we're calculating our digital miles. We've had students travel all the way to Ghana, they've traveled to Ethiopia, they've traveled to, Nice, and they've traveled all over, and we're clocking their digital miles. While you can't have real trips, we're having virtual trips. And we're doing some really, really, and every school you'll see is doing different things. Of course, I'm talking about my, so this is this young girl, if you see, she says, I met the members of the Environment Council 2020-21, and we're all looking forward to a collaborative event and a fun year. And to which I said, hello, I'm Nargis, and I commit to supporting your endeavors right through the year. You can hold me to my promise. Love your growth mindset approach. And so we kind of, you know, talk to each other via Twitter. And in fact, sometimes I don't know what's happening in the school. I know it from Twitter, because every day I spend 15-20 minutes on Twitter. We had this young actor, I'm sure many of you know Ali Fazal from the Fukre fame, from Three Idiots, from Victoria and Abdul. And we invited him and he came in. And he had such an awesome session with our children. Absolutely fascinating. So here are some key ponderables. This is what you're probably feeling like at the moment. You know, you're kind of feeling unsettled, you're on a merry-go-round. But note here, ladies and gentlemen, that you're all strapped in. You're all connected to a system. You are, well, it's your mindset. Either you can enjoy the ride or you can hate it. Well, scream loudly, but don't forget to enjoy the ride. And if you're looking at the key ponderables, you know, we're saying how reconstruct the normal in a VUCA world. There is no normal. There's no new normal now. The new normal is the normal. Redefine your philosophy, your mindset, your agile culture. Create your own rapid response formula. Connect, communicate, create, reflect. These are some things we'd like. These are some things we'd like to really, you know, like you to think about. And this is one of my favorite quotes. The one who graduated yesterday and stops learning today is uneducated by tomorrow. Thank you. Over to you.
I don't know, I'm speechless. I don't know how to react to the past 1 hour's presentation that we have just completed. Every slide, there was so much of learning, Nargis. I mean, I'm just talking to you from the bottom of my heart, actually.
Thank you.
I mean, all the people who has my contact numbers, I mean, I'm getting number of messages saying that, can we have the recorded version of this, please?
Yes.
And, you know, we have been going through the VUCA world, but I mean, we heard about it from, I read about it, I mean, we got to know about it, a very number of facilitators did speak about it, but you really made us understand it, feel about it by the way you explain the whole concept. I just don't have enough words to thank you, Nargis, for this excellent session that you have just conducted. I don't know if there are any questions by anyone. I don't think so, because I don't find any questions that are posted on this thing on Zoom, and Lata had mentioned that there aren't any question on Facebook also.
I always say, Mr. Pradipta, I always say when there are no questions, either you understand everything or nothing. I don't know which one is achieved, but thank you so much for your kind words.
I don't know, teachers, if you all have still to ask, if you all want to ask something, you are most welcome to. I'll just give a couple of minutes if possible, and then you can ask some questions. I mean, I think so Nargis would be able to answer those.
I'll try.
Lata, do you have anything to ask Nargis?
No, I don't. I think there is somebody here who has said that they want to ask a question. A certain, the username is called Dadi Padamji. If you can just ask your question in the box.
Yeah, I saw him some time back.
Yeah, Dadi Padamji. Yeah, is it the famous puppeteer Dadi Padamji, the one who got the special award?
I don't know. I saw him. Is he here?
The question is that trying to keep students attentive to the internet, as it becomes very one way, we find students are not focused on the screen. And yes, it is, ma'am.
Yes, so we had the exact same problem. You never know so we don't use Zoom, we use Teams, and only 9 people show up. So you can't even, they don't even have their cameras on, especially in the senior section of the school. So I think what we did is establish the ways of working. and reinforce this on a regular basis. And we have who we call digital monitors, and the students are helping the teacher monitor really what's happening. So how do you keep the students' attention? In Teams, we use chat very, very frequently. So the teacher's constantly monitoring the chat, and she's using edtech tools like we use Mentimeter. So they're using the Padlet, they're using Nearpod, they're using, there's just so many tools they're using. They're having discussion forums, they're having sub-channels within channels. So they're moving students to different channels. So the students have to be alert to what's happening. But it doesn't, this doesn't happen right in the beginning. It happens over a period of time. We are now 12 weeks into our online learning program. So I don't know where, other teachers are in India, but in Dubai we are, and I'm sure every educator in Dubai will be able to relate to what I'm saying. We all went through this pain, but trust me, it gets better and better and better. And the more you engage with children, and the more you have this intentional trust, shown to them, they rise to the occasion. Perhaps you can try it.
Ma'am, there's one more question. How do you teach your students to deal with failure?
So, okay. There are 10 thoughts flashing through my head. Because can we really teach them? No. I think we can teach them to cope with understanding what's happening. The first thing we say is acknowledge. We've got a really strong team of counselors, and we've got a positive psychology and education program, based on the lines of what Martin Seligman, he is the guru of positive psychology. So Martin Seligman's work, please read up on Martin Seligman. And we've got two proponents who are really, really strong and have said some good things. And we expose children to their work through our value education program. And one is Angela Duckworth, and her work on grit is really good. That's, fail 100 times, but get up. You don't fail. You fail if you don't get up. That's the only failure there is, when you don't get up. And the grit is that determination to go on and on. And the other is Carol Dweck. Carol Dweck is the author of the growth mindset theory. And she says, and we saw some children, just to demonstrate to you. So we had some kindergarten children trying something. And, they said, oh, it's not working. 3-4 times they said, oh, it's not working. And one little boy, and we've got a beautiful recording of him saying, he says, no, don't give up. We can do it. Let's try a different way. That is the growth mindset.
Okay, we can take one last question from Facebook. It says, how assessments can be made more effective online?
So you've got two. Okay, so proctored assessments are very expensive. A proctored assessment is an assessment where, the children are not, there's a system in place where the child won't be able to use unfair means. But they're very expensive. So when we took a step back and we did, a 5-step schema, when we evaluated, so what are we testing them on? So we said very quickly, we should be testing them on something that's not in the textbook, that they won't be able to find. Everyone knows of Bloom's taxonomy. So we said, let's test them on the upper levels of Bloom taxonomy. So a little bit of understanding and knowledge, but quickly move into evaluation and, creation and all the rest of that. So we said that, and then we said, rather than have one big summative at the end, let's have formatives right through. And so we go through the formatives. Are we 100% successful? Of course not. Of course not. And children will try. So, and they will try to message each other on phone because they know they have a half-an-hour window. Some people work faster than others. There's no foolproof way. But if you make the assessment interesting and exciting, especially up to grade 8. See, you can work with the curriculum up to grade 8. 9, 10, 11, 12 gets a bit more difficult because you're preparing them for the board exam. But up to grade 8, you can really work with the curriculum. So my advice would be, based on our own experience, that construct the evaluation around areas that they won't find easily in the textbook and won't be able to Google. So they've really got to think themselves and get the answers. And the other is rely more on formative assessment. Create trackers based on the skills you want them to, and get them to track it, and you track it as well as the teacher. So if you identified, okay, I'm going to track them on these 10 things in this term, identify those 10 things, and then in the class give them formative assessments through. You saw how quickly Mentimeter works. You can use Socrative, you can use quizzes, you can use. There's so many Desmos. There's so many opportunities for those who want to do practicals. You can use gizmos and PhET simulations. There are so many options out there, with the use of technology. And I think a more regular tracking gives you a better insight into the child's mind than that one big exam at the end.
Can I just take the last question? Ambitions versus capability. How do you coach such students to differentiate and not feel failure?
I missed the first word, Pradipta.
Ambitions versus capability. How do you coach such students to differentiate and not feel failure?
So I think that's a brilliant question.
Brilliant question, absolutely.
Absolutely brilliant question. So whoever's asked it, that's the difficult one. But I think, so when children, and I'll tell you where that ambition versus capability, ambition is a good thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not a dirty word. It's a good thing to have. As long as, and we always say, ambition should be targeted at a reach just beyond your grasp. If it's within your grasp, that's not ambition. It should be just beyond your grasp. So we do what we call smart goal setting. Smart goals are specific, measurable, achievable, So whether it's academics or it's any other extracurricular goal that they want to set themselves, we get the students to set smart goals, and we get that. So we have a midterm review where teachers sit with students and review their smart goals. We did it more effectively 3 years ago or 4 years ago when we introduced it. Now it's kind of set in the school, so children know about it, but it's time, I think, to keep revising and revamping. When you make children set smart goals, and so to give you an example, let's say I want to lose weight. So that's not a smart goal. But if I say I want to lose 5 kilos in 1 month, and this is how I'm going to do it. I'm going to reduce, my calorie intake by 200 calories. I'm going to go for exercising. I'm exercising every day, and I spell it out. So that's what a smart goal does. Therefore, the delusional element of, I can do this. And I have to say, sometimes over rewarding children and too much of praise does this. It makes them believe that they have superpowers, that they can do things better than everybody else. And we always believe, and we always say this at Modern, that, be judicious in your use of praise. Tell them what you're praising them for. Not good boy, well done. No. But I like the way you've used your idioms. That's excellent. So then he knows he's getting the praise for use of idioms, or she knows. So, some of these techniques that are embedded in the culture of the school, and also coaching parents, because sometimes the ambition comes from home, and parents have their own dreams and ambitions through their children. And so that balances.
Okay, so Lata, we'll finish it now. Okay, thank you, Nargis, once again. Thank you so much for your time. And thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and for the registering for this session. There is a form that has been shared with all of you. Kindly give your feedback. That will really help us understand what was your take back from it. And we would love to share it with Nargis also.
Thank you so much. And I would please, may I ask a favor?
Yeah, please.
Please be hypercritical, because there's a reason why I'm saying it. We always say that, praise is good. I mean, it's really good. But if you don't tell me how I can improve, I'm not going to improve. So if you tell me, like, Ritesh walked in, my CID, my Chief Innovation and Digital Officer walked in and said, "You're going too fast, slow down." And he gave me a yellow slip that he's monitoring from there. And he came and told me that, then that helped me. So please let me know what you didn't like and how I can improve. That would do me a favor. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone. Be safe, all of you. Thank you.